Hi, my name is Reese, and this is my Unit 2 assessment. For my first project today, I will be talking about the different ways you can write a proportion. So, Bill has 6 gallons of gasoline to go 120 miles. How much gas will I need to go 240 miles? So, here is my chart that I made where 20 over 1 is the unit rate, and depending on how much you multiply it by, these will be the other numbers that you will get. So, writing it as an equation, you can divide 120 over 6 by 20 over 1, and if you divide by the certain number, you will get that if you divide 120 by 6 and 6 divided by 6, you'll get 20 over 1. Another way you could write it is y equals 20x, where y equals the miles and x equals the gallons. Same representation when you do it in fraction form. And as the final part for number 1 and partly of number 2, a graph, which is where each dot represents 20 over 1, 40 over 2, and so forth. So that's the graph part. And in number 2, we also use the graph to represent number 2, where the ordered pairs represent a sample of the relationship. And there. On to number 3. Okay. So for number 3, we have explaining unit rates, where we represent the graph and how if you go up that much, you will have 20. And over is 1, which is 20 over 1, also known as 20, just to make sure. So that's a slope of 20, and 20 over 1 is the unit rate. And still using the same words, Bill has 6 gallons of gasoline to go 120 miles. How much gas will he need to go 240 miles? And this is representation of the unit rate. So, number 4, calculating unit rates with fractions. So, for an example, we have 50 over 5 equals 10 over 1. Now, if you wanted to equal 10 over 1, you'd have to divide 50 by 5, which is 10, and 5 divided by 5, which is 1, giving you 10 over 1, otherwise known as 10. And another way you could do it is dividing the numerator by the denominator to get a unit rate. And in this case, it would be 10 over 1. And number 5, when you need to graph from an equation or verbal description, you can make a table of values. So in this case, we're still using 50 over 5 and multiplied by a certain number. You could get any one of those, which is a table of values. And they all mean the same thing, because if you divide them, you could get 10 over 1, which is the unit rate in this case. So, how to tell if something is proportional? So, using a graph, you can tell if something is proportional if the line is going through the origin or the middle where the lines cross. If it isn't going through the origin, it's not proportional. Another way you could write it is y equals mx plus b, and b would have to equal 0 in the description. And of course, y equals mx plus b is the form that you use for a graph. So those two relate. A way that it wouldn't be proportional is if b was not equal to 0. So any number that is not equal to 0 means it's not proportional. When using a chart, 0, 0 has to be the start of the chart, and then the unit rate. If there isn't any zeros, then you know that it is not proportional when using a chart. And one last thing, Bill needs 12 gallons of gas to go 240 miles. I'm Reese Miles, and that was my Unit 2 assessment.